think just getting started, be cautious. Don't do something unwisely, but look at opportunities, connect with people. There's so many opportunities out there to connect. Like that is one of the biggest resources I found is just networking. So get connected, find some opportunities. Maybe start smaller than 100K. Maybe do a passive investment of 50 and try it. See how it goes and diversify. Just get in the door and start making steps forward. Because if you don't, you're going to sit on the sidelines for a long time and miss out.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Rebekah Taylor. She's a third-generation real estate professional with a deep passion for the industry. I'm going to actually stop there because a lot of this stuff is about your background and your life, which I think will be so much better being told from your perspective than for me reading your bio. I love seeing that that's kind of your focus. But first, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show today, Rebekah. I'm really happy to have you here and excited to get to talk.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. I appreciate the invitation. It's great to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's just start with tell us about yourself. Tell us your background, kind of your journey into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I live in Lynchburg, Virginia with my husband of 16 years and our 3 kids. I have lived kind of all over the country, but came from Montana back in 2004 for college and ended up sticking around Virginia. So I've been here 20 years now, which is wild. Time flies. But I grew up in a pastor's family. My dad was a pastor for many years, and money was always really tight for us. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. And so growing up, I remember we always were very careful about like what we purchased and what we ate and a lot of just normal things in a lower income family. And so my dad was always trying different ways to make ends meet and earn some extra income to support our family, to feed us. And so he tried a lot of businesses and many of them were not successful, but then he stumbled into real estate in 2004. And that was when I was heading to college. And so I was able to kind of watch from a distance and see their lives transform as a result of real estate. And it was a slow process. I mean, he started with like fix and flips and eventually was holding the properties long term and then got into larger multifamily properties and some commercial and, short-term rentals and a lot of different things he did along the way. But he's really built their wealth substantially, millions and millions of dollars. And it's been really cool to see what he's done. And he started at 55, so he was older and has really built a legacy, and it's been able to support him and my mom, and they're able to have a lot more time freedom. So he'd been encouraging us for many years, get into real estate. This is where it's at. This is a great place to put your time and effort. And so we did it very much on the side, bought our first rental in 2012. We were house hacking, but we put a ton of work into that property, a ton of sweat equity, a ton of money. We got it for a really good price in a great neighborhood. And so put a lot of effort into making it livable, putting tenants in the basement, and had our first chance at this house hacking world, which I know a lot of your guests have gone that route with house hacking. Bigger Pockets was really getting started back then. So I was listening to that a lot. And we were like, wow, this is really cool. We have somebody else paying our mortgage. I was in the tech world. I spent about 10 years there doing sales and marketing. And so liked that space, was good at it, made really good money. So we made a lot of smart financial decisions early on, paying off all of our debt. We were really debt averse at the time, paid off our mortgage early, which was really cool. I think that was like 2015 or 16. We didn't have a mortgage anymore. And we're like, what do we do with our money? Like, we need to do something with it. It's just sitting in an account doing nothing. So time went on. We were kind of like, we almost were pointless in we just didn't have a vision for where we were going. And we're like, we need to have more vision. And so we ended up having our first baby in 2016. It was a pretty traumatic experience. I almost died. And it was really hard. It was hard on our family, hard on me. I took some extended time off from work. And I kind of realized during that time, life is short and my time is valuable. And I don't want to spend the next 50 years working myself to the bone, not getting to be with people I love. Like, we need to find a way to change that. And so I came back, ended up leaving that job a few months later and was able to negotiate a shorter work week in the next job that I went to. And that was beautiful to have more time with my daughter, my newborn. And as time went on, I was like, man, I just want more control. I want more control of my time. So how can I do that? How can I get more control? And so 2020 landed. Obviously, we had COVID, and I quit my job. We went on a 3-month road trip around the country with a camper in tow. My husband was given a sabbatical from his work at the time. And so we were like, let's leave. So we rented our top floor of our house, had some income coming from that, and bought a camper and a truck and traveled. And it was just this beautiful time to dream. Like I'm in my mid 30s at that point, and I was like, I need to do something different. Like tech is not for me. It's been good to us, but I need to focus on something that's going to give us more time freedom. So decided real estate was where I wanted to be, and came back, got my license as a realtor, started doing transactions. We actually did a cash out refinance, pulled all that equity out of our home, and bought more rental properties here locally. And so we're like, this is really cool. Like we're able to generate some good income that's supporting us. And then I stumbled into this passive investing world, and I worked at 2 different firms as their director of investor relations, and had the chance to dive into that and invest as both LPs and GPs. And it was just such a cool opportunity to see another side of real estate that was a whole lot more passive. And so I love being able to share that with our investors now. We have tailored investments. We can talk more about that, but it's been a blessing to put our money to work in some ways harder than we do, and get some of those great returns so that we have more time freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much there to talk about. Like this, there's a lot of really cool stuff in the story. And the first thing is just your dad getting into real estate you said at 55. Like that's so many times I think, well, you worked in investor relations, you've dealt with investors. Like so many people have these limiting beliefs of I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have the money, I don't have the right background, whatever it is, and just kind of shy away because they've found something to sort of be that trigger that says no, don't do this. But like your dad at 55 started it, and that was 2004, which most people probably remember what happened in around 2008. And
Yeah.
so he started not too far but before the real estate market crashed, and you say he still had lots and lots of success in real estate. And so I think there's some really good lessons right there. I also think him doing that and exposing it to you, you went a different career path at first, but came back around and found real estate in one way that then eventually progressed to it being full-time job. So, excuse me, sorry. I think that there's a lot of really great like take-home lessons there for people that are listening, just about it doesn't have to look the same for every single person. That there's just it doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter if you want to be active or you want to be passive or you want to be both. Like it doesn't matter if it's single family, it doesn't matter if it's multifamily or like there's just so many different ways. But the reality is a very, very good and effective investment vehicle and way to grow your wealth and ultimately give you the most important thing, which is time freedom. And you kind of touched on that. So I think it's just a ton of really great stuff from that story. And I don't, I want to give you the chance, I want to stop there, give you the chance to kind of add to it before I just start firing off more questions. But anything that you would add to kind of that your perspective, looking into the real estate world?
Yeah, I mean, and I guess I want to really hit on like my dad. It was definitely not a straight road. And once he even got into real estate, it has been like this, like figuring out what works, what doesn't work. He's done a little bit of everything. They actually just invested in their first syndication last year with me, an assisted living facility that we worked on. And so that was really cool for them to experience that. It was really hard for my dad to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be passive. Like I'm active. Like I am doing it all. But I'm like, Dad, you're in your 70s now. It might be worth like taking a step back. You're still going to get really great returns, but maybe it's worth like giving somebody else the chance to run the show a little bit. I'm not asking you to move everything over to this, but all that to say, I think that he's worked his butt off. Like it hasn't been easy, but it's been so fruitful, and I've loved getting to see all that he's built as a result of that. And we
Mhm.
haven't, like, he's not given us those things. Like, he has never given us, we actually just did our first deal together recently, outside of that syndication they invested in last year. But he and my mom have never given us like any properties or any, some people ask me like, well, did your parents like pass, was a lot of this inheritance? I'm like, no, we've had to build our own, like we had to work really hard too. And I just appreciate what he shared with us, because it's all been knowledge and wisdom along the way. It hasn't been money. It's
Mhm.
been like knowledge and wisdom. How can I help
Yeah.
you get to where you're going to go?
Yeah. And I think that's the much better way to do it, right? It's
Mhm.
like my kids are really young right now, and like I have this idea of, I guess in my head, what the future looks like, but like it doesn't look like me just giving them a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing this so that I can hand it all over to them at some point. I'm doing it so I can expose them to real estate, and they can figure out where their place in that is, like whether that's actively working alongside of me, starting their own businesses, just
Mhm.
being passive. Maybe they hate it entirely. I don't really care, but I think that like if if I could have known what I know now, you know, when I was 20,
Yeah.
that's a
Mhm.
whole different, that makes, sort of the rest of my life look very differently. And it's like none of us can go back in time.
Yeah.
So you do you do with what you have when you have it. And it's like, again, with your dad starting at 55, like it doesn't, it's not too late to get in. So I think just really important that kind of that piece of what he shared with you. And you mentioned starting with a house hack. I think it's a really great place for people to get kind of a taste of real estate investing.
Mhm.
um, and then kind of figuring out what, like if you hate managing that one tenant you might have or whatever, and you don't want to do any of the work, that might
Yeah.
tell you like I'm more of a passive investor. But what it will show you, either they're paying your mortgage for you, or they're paying a big percentage of it. So it's kind of like it will show you the financial power of it, and also give you some demonstration of like what do you want your role to be
Yeah.
as as a real estate investor. What piece do you
Mhm.
want of that?
Cool.
So it sounds like you did, kind of, you've gone through a number of different, I don't know if you call them asset classes or what, where you've worked in different spaces. I wanted
Mhm.
to get your perspective on your time as a investor relations manager for other people. Like how
Mhm.
did, and I know now you've got your own company, and I'm sure a big part of that is investor relations. But like, what do you think that marketing and sales background played into that? What tell me a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that played a big part. I mean, it's working with people. That's definitely my one of my passions, is getting to communicate. I have a degree in communications, a public relations degree, and then I have an MBA. And so, getting to work with people is just, that's what I love to do every day. Have conversations and help people achieve their goals. And so, going to work, the first group that I was at was a group called Wellings Capital. We had actually heard the founder on Bigger Pockets years prior, and so we were familiar with him. He's here local, and so I was able to join their team. And they were doing fund to fund, so it was a little bit different from what we do here at Tailored Investments. But it's multiple assets and a fund with
Yeah,
multiple operators, and so it gives you the chance to get in and have a lot of exposure to different properties all over the country, and maybe less risk because you're involved in so many different assets and asset classes and operators. And so I had the chance to really learn from him a lot of what I know now. And that was super helpful. And just getting to engage with those investors that, were very interested in real estate, but didn't really want to be dealing with toilets and tenants and trash. And so it was fun to get to talk to them and share about some of the experiences we have had on that side of things as active
Yeah.
investors, and just the ease of going into it on the passive side. So I was able to work there. And again, it was a little bit different. The second company I worked for was doing just value add multifamily singular assets. And so mostly doctors in that space. We were founded by three doctors. And so it was really cool to get to interact with that. demographic of people that are brilliant. And I know you're a doctor yourself, so getting to talk to people that have so much knowledge and spend a lot of time in school and are really good at what they do. They should probably, if they enjoy it, keep doing what they're doing, but maybe put their money to work in something outside the stock market. And so that was something I got to share a lot with people is, man, you're phenomenal at what you do. You love what you do, and you're taking care of people or animals. Like, you have such an important role. So keep doing that if that's fulfilling for you. But maybe you want to step back a little bit and have a little bit more time freedom. So if you can fill in the gap with some passive funds on a monthly or quarterly basis, then it might be worth considering, going that route.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that you sort of understanding how to communicate that to people and sort of meet them where they are is such a important skill. And I think being in that role, what are you, I mean, I'll ask, we've gone through some tumultuous times in the real estate market over the last couple of years with rates and all that has gone on. But when you're talking to investors these days, what are you talking about? Like, what points are you hitting on? How are you kind of directing them?
Yeah. I just had a meeting last night with some potential investors here locally, and they had a lot of questions. And one of the common themes I'm running into is just these people at crossroads. They have money and they're like, we're
Yeah.
just trying to figure out, like, we want to do real estate, but we can't figure out if we want to go the active route or the passive route. So I'm asking a lot of questions, just trying to figure out, like, how much time do you have? Like, if you're single, you probably have a little bit more time than somebody that's married or married and has kids, that are young, and you're trying to be at sports games and school activities and all this, and you have jobs that you're really good at, you're making a great hourly rate at. So I'm just trying to figure out and gauge, like, what is it that makes you tick? What gives you joy and fulfillment? What does your time look like? What are you ultimately trying to achieve? Where do you want to go? I met with another couple yesterday. I had such opposite ends of the spectrum, meeting with another couple earlier in the day that they don't have kids yet, and they've already been very immersed in the Airbnb space, and they're doing great there. They're making good money, and they're trying to figure out, like, do we keep growing that, or do we jump into the passive side? And I was just able to get a lot of feedback, and I was like, as much as I love to have you join me on this passive journey and invest in my deals, I think you guys are really smart to do what you're doing. Like, that
Right.
space, you're killing it there. That probably should be your focus right now. Like, keep building up on that side, your portfolio. And someday when you need more time and you're looking to do something a little bit more hands off, then let's talk, And so I think just understanding where people are at and what they're looking for, what their goals are, again, asking a lot of questions and just listening to see what they're looking for and how I can best serve them. I love the book, The Go Giver. I think that book is phenomenal, and just being able to give back way more than you get. And eventually I think it will come back. But at the end of the day, I would just want to be a resource and a support to people that are considering real estate. And, maybe we'll be the right fit for you, and, you'll be interested in working, maybe not. Like, I know a lot of people in this industry that might be able to work better with your goals, and help you get to where you want to go. So I don't know if that answers a question, but that's
No,
the
I mean,
conversation we're having.
yeah, that's I mean, it's a great point about, the investor relations is not sales.
Mhm.
It's really trying to figure out, like, what do they need? Like, what are their goals? What are their, and is there a way that you can help? And as you said, like, I always tell people, like, you should be doing this. Like, you should be doing this in some capacity. I think even if you're active, you should be looking at ways to get passive in addition to that. You've got to have, because everybody's active, right? Like, unless you have a trust fund, everybody's active in something. You've got some active income. It may be, as you said, like, if you're a doctor, it may be that's your active income and you're looking to add passive. You might be a real estate investor solely, actively, but you also should be looking at ways to start generating passive income, like, over time. But again, it's kind of like figuring out where are they at in that journey, what's good for them in their life, asking a lot of those questions, like you said. And then there are lots of people, like, that's been one of the really cool things about this podcast, is, like, I get to meet people like yourself, my other guests. If I talk to someone and they're like, oh, I want to be specifically in this asset class, or, I want these types of, I'm looking for a development deal, or I'm looking for self-storage, or I'm looking for, you said, assisted living. Like, if I don't have those things, I probably know someone who does and can connect you, because ultimately that is the goal for me. My goal is to like make other people money through real estate. Like, that's
Yeah.
kind of what it comes down to, and is really, like, that's what's exciting about it. So it's kind of a I kind of love how you I don't, because I don't think there's, if you're looking at it, like, when I talk to investors, I tell them these, 4 facts about where the economy is at right now, and why now's the right time, and all of this stuff. Like, that may or may not be true, but I'm sure you could go through every point in history and find that people have said now is the right time to invest in real estate. The reason for that is because kind of it always is. Like,
Yeah.
it's always a good time,
Yeah.
but you need to find the strategy that fits for you and works
Yeah.
for you. So I think these just some really great points that you made about talking to investors.
Mhm.
Um, so you worked for other people and then kind of went on to start Tailored Investments. What is your focus as a company? Like, what are you looking at now? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So our goal is really just to find, analyze, and acquire income producing assets. And it's not solely multifamily. We've also done assisted living. We're working on an assisted living deal right now. And so as time has gone on, I've seen, the market has changed a lot, and multifamily has definitely been a hot asset class. I love it. I mean, it's great. We've invested a lot there. We just did a deal here in Lynchburg a few months ago, 100 units. That's in a phenomenal area. It's an A-class area, B-class property, and we got a really good deal on it. And so, still doing some of that, but it's just been harder to find deals that really pencil out and that are cash flowing. For us, we really love cash flow. That's what we live off of. I don't have a W-2 job. My husband doesn't have a W-2 job anymore. He left his in February. So we are both on this journey focused on real estate. He also does some coaching and consulting. And so cash flow is really important for us. And so that's really what I've focused on. Assisted living is, there's a ton I could talk about there, but it's cash flowing well. And so that's been a focus, but we're just looking for really, really solid operators to do deals with. That is our strategy, is looking for the best of the best people that they may not be great at marketing, but they're really good at operations and finding the deals. They know their market really well. They're getting great prices on the assets. They're just doing a really good job. They've got a solid track record. That's something we look at, we want. And so that's really our strategy, is looking for the best of the best, and then bringing investors into the deals, helping them throughout the whole investment, handling their investor relations, handling some of the sales and marketing, bringing my strengths to the table in these deals. Whereas like operations, I can do some of that, but it's not my strength. It's not something that I love. We have our own properties here in Lynchburg. My husband and I have a property manager for most of them. And so that's been great to not have to deal with it. I still get some calls here and there. We have a unit right now that's taken a while to fill. But all that to say, it's nice that I have somebody else, that's dealing with most of the day-to-day operations. And so, that's our focus, is just to give people the opportunity to get involved and see, what is there, what's available to them on the passive side, so they can have more time and not have to go the active route if that's not for them. And, just share, again, what's available. There are risk involved, just like any investment. There's always risk, and we've seen some things happen the last few years in the market, and so we're very conservative. That's something that I really am conservative in when I look at deals and the underwriting. I think it's really important to be conservative, and the debt piece I think is also really important, because we've seen some things go sideways for other people and other deals, some of my friends, and I hate that. And so I want to do everything possible to be conservative, and in the early stages to already have cash flow. I'm not as focused on big value add, where we're going to spend years like gutting a property and then coming out on the back end and selling it and seeing a large profit. That's great for some people, and I love that. For us, though, the cash flow piece is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that just ties back into what we were talking about. You have different strategies available to you in the space. Like, it's, those tremendous value add deals, development deals, you're not going to see any cash flow probably for a couple of years. And some people, that's fine. They don't need the cash flow. They're looking for equity growth, and so that it's just truly, you need to understand as an investor what you're looking for, and as someone who's working with investors, how to best identify what they are in fact
Yeah.
looking for.
Mhm.
I'd love it if you would talk a little bit about assisted living. It's something that, that you see. I don't know anything about it, but you see a lot of, kind of marketings around the fact that, a lot of baby boomers are retiring, and there's going to be a high demand for assisted living. I don't I don't question that. My thing is, there's probably more to it than just, oh, there's going to be a bunch of old people that live there. Like, it's different than other asset classes. So maybe just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came across this through my business coach actually last year, early last year. I started working with her, and she is in this industry, and I have been able to glean a lot of wealth and or wealth knowledge from her. And she had found a really solid operator that she was partnering alongside, and so she introduced me to them. And as I got to know them over time, it was a process. I was really impressed with what they were doing. They had come from the multifamily space, and similar is in terms of my thoughts, it was just harder to find deals, and there was so much competition. I wanted to be very conservative when, if the cap rate is so close to my interest rate on the property and there's just little margin in there, I there was just hesitation, I guess, in terms of what we were finding. So they had kind of transitioned to assisted living and had seen some really good success. They'd already had some properties under their belt. They were operating in Wisconsin, and so as I got to know them, I was like, man, they're doing things the right way. One of the things I especially appreciate is just how they care for their residents. They're really, really big on just taking quality care and providing a stellar living environment for those residents that they care for in their later years, And so we did our first deal together last year, and it's gone really, really well. So just a few statistics, I pulled them up because I wanted to make sure I got them right, and this is kind of what spurred on my interest as I started to dig more. A couple of statistics: over 810,000 Americans currently reside in assisted living community. That's about 2% of seniors over the age of 65. Most residents move into assisted living communities between the age of 75 and 84. From now until 2030, an average of more than 10,000 baby boomers will reach retirement age each day. And many of them will look for assisted living options because they can't care for themselves. And I think part of that is like, I hate to say it, I think a lot of people just don't care for themselves early in life. They're not making
Yeah.
the best decisions. Like they're not exercising, they're eating poorly, they're smoking, like they're really stressed. There's pollution. I mean, there's like all these things I think that are contributing to unhealthy lifestyle, which is going to ultimately lead to people needing more care. And I hate that. I want, especially for my family and I, we're like, how do we live well now? How do we take care of our bodies now so that we don't need that in the end? But if we do, I want to be in a good facility where people are really taking care of
Right.
us. And so this near doubling of the senior population is projected to necessitate almost 1 million additional assisted living beds over the next 4 decades, which is, I mean, crazy. They're saying that number is going to grow to nearly 95 million. That'll be over 65 by year 2060. So there's
Wow.
just more and more people coming into that world, and there's so much need there that is coming. And so when I looked at that space and I saw like, hey, this is growing and there's not enough beds, I think that we can provide a solution. And so again, finding that partner, I've just been blown away. They've done really, really awesome with the deal we did last year, where we should hit about 8% cash flow in year one on that deal. And I was there a couple months ago with my family and just loved what they're doing, what's happening there with the culture, with the staff. I mean, you have to have a lot of staff in this. It's different from
Mhm.
multifamily. Like it
Yeah.
is a business. We have 125 beds there, and we've got about 100 staff. So you've got to take care of your people if you want them to take care of your residents. And so this partner of mine we are focused on how do we create good culture there. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, that's been a passion for us. And we're in the midst of doing another deal right now up in Wisconsin as well. And it's just exciting, again, to provide something that I feel like we're making impact. And I think in any kind of real estate, like you can make huge impact. People need a place to live, so can you
Yeah.
provide a quality place and a fair price, and just take care of the ins and outs of the facility. And then that's what we're going to do in assisted living, but at a whole nother level.
Yeah. It definitely, no experience, but definitely strikes me as much more of a business play housed within real estate, which some people say that about self-storage too. I think self-storage, you're not have people living there generally, so it's it's a little bit different. But yeah, it's very interesting asset class to me. Maybe I'll connect with you more outside of this on it, but it does seem to make a lot of sense. And yeah, I'm sure having the right operator makes all the difference. That's probably
Yeah.
true in just about any investment that you're going to make, is you want to have the right operators. Well, Rebekah, let me switch gears a little bit. I want to ask you the questions I ask every guest. The first one, of course, is based on the name of the show being Know Your Why. So what is your why? What's driving you? What kind of keeps you motivated when the days get hard?
Yeah, that's good. I think it's having time freedom, being able to choose. That the ability to choose is probably my why. I want to choose to be more present with my family, with my kids, my three kids. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-month-old. And I don't want to get to the end of my life and, be like, I made all this money, but I wasn't around. I wasn't around hardly
Right.
at all. And so while money is important, it's just a tool. And so I think for us, we desire to have income to support our lifestyle. We love to travel. That's probably part of my why as well. We've been over 30 countries and love to take our kids to travel. We just went on a road trip this summer. We were gone about 2 months of the summer, which was a blast. Like we couldn't have done that in past jobs, W-2 jobs. And so to be able to have that control and explore the country with our kids and see a lot of family and go up to Alaska. I mean, that was a product of hard work, a lot of hard work, but also making good choices and getting into real estate. And so I think just our why is like we want to have time freedom. We want to be with our family more. We want to be able to give back more. We love to do missions. We're very involved in our church and our community. And so being able to pour into that and not be limited by, I've got to be in my 50-hour work week job, and I'm traveling all over the country because of work, which I was previously. I get to be more present. So I think that's my why. My faith too is a huge part of my journey, my story. So
I think you actually just very succinctly summed up the key to financial and time freedom. You said, work hard, make smart money and decisions, and invest in real estate. I mean, we're real estate investors, so maybe biased, but like work hard, make smart financial decisions, which includes investing, right? And obviously, we're both advocates for real estate as being an excellent investment vehicle. So it's just kind of like you work hard early, so that you can start that kind of investment ball rolling, and then it actually gets easier and easier over time. Like the more money you have invested, that if you get that 8% deal, the more money you have invested, the larger amount 8% is, right? So it's like every cycle you're continuing to kind of reinvest that money, and you go from your first investment to your fifth or sixth investment. Now those cash flows become really substantial, and you can start to live off that passive income. So I love that point. Tell us something about yourself that isn't common knowledge. Special skill, a hobby, just something to let listeners know you better. Anything that you're comfortable sharing.
It's so funny. Years and years and years ago, I had this dream as a kid of being in the CIA. I watched all the CIA shows, growing up. Like that was what I aspired to do. And I went to college not for that. I mean, it was kind of like not sure what I wanted life to look like after college, and got again a communications degree and MBA, and then went into software and marketing there. All along though, hoping maybe the CIA would work out. So I went through the process. My husband actually moved up to the DC area because I got a job up there and was still going through the CIA process. I got denied the first time and then went through it again. And we ended up coming back to Lynchburg where we live now. And my husband was offered a job here in Lynchburg. So we moved back. And literally, like right as we were moving back, I got an offer from the CIA. And ended up turning it down because we had already committed to coming back here. And I knew I needed to honor our commitments, honor my husband and his new career that we were going to. But it was really hard. Like I was very sad about that, because I had dreamed of this. And I don't really think I even knew what was truly involved with that kind of job in that world and like that commitment. I mean, they would have probably had my soul. And so I look back and I'm glad it didn't work out. But it's just so funny, how things can change. And I see like there's a reason for everything. And I'm so glad that we are where we're at today. Like
Mhm.
again, time freedom is what I'm all about. So being in that world probably wouldn't have had time freedom. Like God knew, and I trust him
Probably
in
not.
that.
Yeah.
But it's just really funny that that had all transpired. And again, like I had hoped for it and didn't get it the first time when we were up there. And then we get here and it totally, so for a long time I was traveling for work, and my friends and family would always joke like, Becca's in the CIA, isn't she? Like she's always traveling for work. That's her like secret job. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, it's not. But here I am doing real estate.
It's not, but I'd like it to be. Yeah, that's really funny. I mean, I guess this is obviously intentional, but like I have no idea what working for the CIA would look like. Like I like everything I would know about that would be from movies and TV shows, and it's like looks exciting, but I'm pretty sure probably you don't have any time freedom. Like, like there's and then like I mean again, from the movies they're like, "Oh, you can't even have a family because then there's someone like there's all that, I don't I'm sure there are people in the CIA that have families. I don't know how that I literally have no idea how that all works. But that is very
Yes.
interesting. Um, amazing.
You're the first podcast I've told this to. So interesting information that I'm sharing here for the public.
That's the whole point of that question to me. Like, it's
Yeah.
like I have gotten some like that is actually, if not the most unique answer, like 300 plus episodes in. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But I think
Yeah.
it does. It's like a little glimpse into people at just maybe a deeper level.
Yeah.
When people hear this and they want to connect, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so our website, it's tailored, my last name, Taylored, tailoredinvestments.co. So come there. We have a free guide on creating some financial freedom, some tips and books that we recommend. So definitely join our email list. We have deals we send out, just information we share. We'd love to connect with you there or on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, let's connect.
Very cool. We'll get that stuff in the show notes. My
Yeah.
last question for you is, what advice would you give to someone who hear this, they're excited, they want to get started in real estate? What would you tell them would be some good first steps?
Mm. Oh, there's so much. I think just get started. Like stop dragging your feet. We did for a long time. Like we bought our first property and then years went by because we were like, we need to find the perfect next property. We wanted a quadplex or, like we were so laser focused on finding the exact right one that met all the criteria, was perfect. And we sat on the sidelines for a long, long time. And I hate that. Like I wish we would have continued buying more and more, or investing in passive deals. And so I think just getting started, be cautious. Don't do something unwisely, but look at opportunities, connect with people. There's so many opportunities out there to connect. Like that is one of the biggest resources I found, is just networking. So get connected, find some opportunities, maybe start smaller than 100K, maybe do a passive investment at 50 and try it, see how it goes, and diversify. Just get in the door and start making steps forward, because if you don't, you're going to sit on the sidelines for a long time and miss out.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think it is really just about getting started. You're never going to be like 100% comfortable,
No.
but it's just, you've got to sort of get started, see how it goes, and then you can refine your strategies as you move forward. So
Yeah.
I think that's
Just like
great advice.
kids. Just like having kids, you're like, you're never going to be ready.
Nope.
Never. We waited 8 years, and then finally we took the leap, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is hard, but it's so wonderful. Like I
Yeah.
can't imagine life without them. So
Yeah,
just take the leap.
that's a pretty. I find a lot of parallels there, where you're like, this is the hardest yet most rewarding thing I've ever done, and they like kind of go hand in hand. So, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think it's been a great conversation. People can really learn a lot from it. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you shared. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. It's so good to be here. I appreciate the time.
Yeah. And folks listening, please like, rate, and review the show, and make sure you connect with Rebekah. Thank you all for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?